do long thoughts, and the hardest thing for me is actually explaining things in a simple way. But this time I promise that it's simple. And with that said, the speech that I will be giving is actually a part of the workshop that I will be doing at Wednesday, but I won't be presenting all of it. I will just be presenting a section of it, and this section won't be in Wednesday 1, because it is very rich presentation, some sections will be deleted. And at the same time, we will be just talking by 15 minutes, and there will be a live Q&A. I'm sure that you all have the questions. I already did a few things in this area while answering some complex questions. And after that, you can order anything that you want from the cafe as you wish. There will also be food, and then we will be chatting and networking and getting social. In the future, I believe we will be doing more events together. Even in Istanbul, actually, we are considering organizing some conferences. We are all invited. We will be happy to have you there as well. So, with that said, let's begin slowly. One more thing is that there is also a live streaming for our public community as well. So, they are also together with us as well. So, after I launched the course, I can tell that actually it was a different feeling. To be honest, it was like explaining similar things with different type of concepts that are not so told before, or that are not explained before as well. It also created a kind of, let's say, the buzzword culture. It created a kind of hype around the topic of maths. That's why I wanted to actually, which one? Okay. That's why I wanted to create these 5 simple concepts. Some of you already know it, if you are a member of the private community, which are source context, central entity, central search intent, core section of the topical map, and outdoor section of the topical map. Even if you don't have a big budget, even if you don't have that much, let's say, the backlinks, if you are able to adjust these 5 components as it should be, eventually you will actually see a ranking that will be helping you. Until now, we actually published over 70 websites. I just put actually maybe 5-6 of them to this presentation, and we will explain how we actually use these specific concepts for that. Another thing is that I examined many topical maps. I must tell that some of these topical maps are like list of keywords, which is something that actually we should not be doing. At the same time, a topical map, sometimes it is not actually a list of topics as well. Because a web page can actually focus on 200 different topics. At the same time, same topic can be explained in 200 different web pages as well. This actually requires us to understand the context or the contextual zones and how we can actually communicate with the search engine as much as possible. And another thing that usually people miss is the query language or the search language. From a search engine engineer's point of view, when you look at actually any kinds of query, it is about verbalizing it. If a query can be verbalized 200 different ways, the search engine will try to understand which is the highest possibility of the verbalization. Then they will try to close the gap, vocabulary gap, between queries and between the web pages. When we create a topical map, we are trying to give the highest possibility with the most common actual vocabulary, with the queries as much as possible. So I will be moving faster for these areas, but this is actually a kind of definition for it. Basically, it is actually a strategy for communication with the search engines to decrease the cost and the risk of retrieval, and topical authority is actually a ranking state, which means that for a certain topic, you have a boost of ranking. And sometimes, if you have the positive ranking state, even if you go for other type of topics, still you actually have that kind of a boost. But in my experience, once you start to dilute the core section of the topical map, once you actually start to dilute your primary focus, you can see a kind of demoting after a certain type of actually core update. We also have examples for that. If you have time, I will try to demonstrate them as well. So I move to definitions in this area. The first one that I will be presenting in this area is the Zoom-based. You can see actually naked data as you wish. At the most bottom part, you actually see the source context, central entity, central search intent, core section, and the author section. So Zoom-based is actually a different type of company because it is a SaaS for gym owners or personal trainers. And when it comes to creating actually a topical map for this, usually people start to create a topical map directly from, let's say, how to be a personal trainer, or let's say overall things like open a gym. They try to create really wide-like articles. The problem is that if there is no query, if if there is no query, you can't actually add these things directly to your topical map. You always have to create a connection to the query for your website. And to be able to do that, you need to redefine your own website. That's why, even if this is actually a SaaS, we actually started to focus on actually opening a gym, cost management of a gym, or certifications for the gym, and then we also started to focus on actually, let's say, gym teach or gym teachers, or even some sections we focus on actually martial arts, because for martial arts there are lots of personal trainers, and they always need a kind of student management system. So if you open a kind of web page like student management system, you will get zero traffic from there. It won't be providing you any kinds of actual authority. That's why you should always go after the query by creating a connection. That's why I say that you need to create a connection from search language to the nature of language. If you're able to do that, you will be able to actually communicate with the search engine. The second sample is Wellsdorf, which is in the YNY niche inside the United Kingdom. Again, at the most bottom by part, you actually see these 5 components, and you actually see our topical map directly here. You see the third part or first part of data in this area as well. Another thing that you should understand is that the content actually in this area, at the beginning part and at the later part, it is actually the same. The only difference is the historical data and how search engine actually interprets the website. Whenever we have actually enough level of historical data, we start to increase our ranking state gradually and gradually. Okay, I hope it will start to work at some point. Hello? Yeah. Thanks. The third one is Mongol languages. This is a language learning app. So for this specific one, actually, the topical map here is very actually, let's say, structured. And when it comes to the source context here, you can see that we are actually talking about language learning app. I hope everyone actually hears me. Maybe my naked voice, my naked voice is actually more extra. I was about to be a singer, but my mother didn't allow me. Then I became an SEO. So the specific source context here is actually language learning app. And the main issue in this specific one is that the app is not that much strong. In the App Store, we have literally nothing. And the topical map is actually created for helping people to download the specific app as much as possible. And to be able to do that, first we started to focus on 2 things. We actually have a language, but a language can be a certain type of language. Let's say English it can be, or some others it can be, but also there is another side, which is the linguistics. That's why we have 2 sections in this topical map. One is how to learn a language grammar, adjectives or verbs, etc., but they're without any specific language. Then actually we start to focus on English grammar or Russian grammar or other ones, or Russian adjectives, Russian verbs. Then we start to merge these 2 topical maps, and then we actually start to add banners so that people can start to download the app. The issue here is that even if we actually publish a specific topical map or a semantic content network, you can realize that until we actually have a certain type of core update, there is not that much actual movement here. After the core update, the traffic starts to come. Many people, once they start to implement the semantics, they actually stop doing that because they give up. Without the core update, and that core update should and have to focus on your industry and your topic and your language. If it doesn't happen, you will need another one. And sometimes lately, the core system updates, not the core update, but core system updates such as, let's say, the helpful content update or product review update, they also started to create these type of ranking effects, and they are also helpful too. If you look at the 5 components here, I also use actually context augmentation, which means learn a language. Means that actually, this is also in the semantics, it is called actually verb entitlement, which means that a single verb, like learn, can also mean speaking, listening, singing, cursing, and many other things actually, writing, asking, answering, dreaming. The next step is getting the nouns, what you can listen in English, Russian, etc. It might be a story, it might be a movie, it might be something else. The next step is finding the query networks. You will need to connect these specific predicates and its entitlement and the connected nouns as much as possible to do specific type of queries. If you're able to create this connection, then you will be able to actually exceed the relevance thresholds. And every index page will start to support each other. Once you have enough level of historical data, once the core update happens, once the index is refreshed, then you will see this specific type of effect.
This is a Nasdaq company. I hope the website name is not here. If you see it, just don't tell it because I can end up paying like $500,000. There is an NDA here. And this is one of the best ones I can tell because I did only 2 meetings in 2 years with this specific client, and we worked like over 2 years. You see actual topical map and you see some of the sections. These are 2 different topical maps by the way for 2 different sections. And we, for instance, this one I believe is for 3D printing, this one is for plastic injection molding. This is directly in Nasdaq. And we start like 200 clicks a day. Right now it is like 12,000 clicks a day actually. And the thing here is that we publish maybe 800 articles here. And we start to get the domination for the industry, even the company actually end up buying the competition here. Because we start to offering them. We don't use any kind of backlinks in this project, but there is one minor thing that you should understand. In this project, since it starts to be like very big company, there is always a kind of search demand. Nearly, let's say, every state of the United States. If your brand is being searched, you have a natural advantage. If you are buying an expired domain or if you are buying an affiliate website, for instance, just be sure that your brand name is being searched. Or if you are selling it, you can also charge more just because of this specific, let's say, argument. You can also see the 5 components at the bottom part directly. In the outro section, for instance, we focus on the engineer's biography, and then we connect it to the actual core section, like directly how this specific thing works, which material is better, or which methodology is better, or what. This is Oscar Wiley, another company for the glasses. And in this one too, actually, we are just an optometrist. But in the core section, actually, even our sample here is eye health, and the sample search intent is find an optometrist, let's say. The core section, for instance, again, I have the eye health and optometrist, other type of, let's say, eye health related sections. But I started my topical map here directly with the face shapes. Sometimes when you create your specific topical map, you should understand that you will need historical data. Another thing is that you will need a topic to rank easily. A topic that you can connect to your sample entity and your core section very easily. And also that thing should be bringing you a kind of impression or the element of clicks. The face shapes are directly connected to sunglasses because people buy sunglasses not just for health, mainly according to their face shape. And based on that, we created a kind of face shape guide. And we started to focus on the topics like, let's say, glasses for oval face, glasses for diamond face shape, etc. And from there, once I started to get the impressions, which is the first thing that you should be focusing on, because first you will see impression increase. The clicks won't increase at the beginning. After a certain amount of impression increase, you will start to see the clicks part as well. And face shape has been used here like an igniter to start that specific ranking as much as possible. Which means sometimes you need to actually start from a kind of outer section rather than the core section, and you should be giving this decision a little bit yourself. The authentic insights, this is actually a follow the expired domain purchase. The expired domain has been bought, it was very expensive, but the domain is like 20 years old. The main thing here is that you see core section, outer section here with 2 different sections. In the outer section, we focus on actual minerals, vitamins. In the core section, there are 2 things you should know. If you have an expired domain, you should always include actually a specific type of connection to the previous identity. Athletic Insight was a sports journal, a scientific research journal. That's why, while actually we are explaining, let's say, gym machines, supplements, or exercises, we also created a section for sports psychology, athletic performance, or empirical zone. Another thing that you should know is, to be able to get the link effect from 20 years ago, we actually didn't redirect every old URL directly to the homepage. We actually did a kind of log analysis. Then we have seen that the search engine actually crawls even URLs from 20 years ago. And most of these URLs actually have links from New York Times, Washington Post, or very alternative places. And we didn't change these URLs. We actually revived them. I actually call it personally like link resurrection. Basically, we create the same page, we start to get the link, then we start to update the page and connect it to the existing query and internally link this core section. And it actually helps us to get the full authority of the expired domain over the time. But I can also tell you that the content in this area and content in this area are exactly the same. This latest increase comes from the Apple content update. This comes from, I guess, the August or the March update. And it starts actually slightly. Again, I'm telling that the main issue in SEO is not knowing SEO, usually it is coming from the personality. Many people actually give up so early, and usually people try cheap ways to rank a website. While implementing everything here and showing enough web locations, you can actually rank a website permanently as much as possible. This is actually what I call historical note here. In my coding domain, sometimes I have notes that I call historical, which means it's coming from actual old pages like this. And this is the reason that I didn't change actually my logo. I use the old logo, I use old colors, I use old language. I even actually check how the emigrants are distributed in the old articles, and I imitated it, so that my author identity can be matched with the new articles as well. It wasn't easy that much, but we did it. So unfortunately Paul is not here, but this is Diamond Free at Thailand. Since this is the old data, I'm able to show that. And my message here is that, again, you can see the 5 components in this area directly. This is actually Thailand. If you use Koray during the Chiang Mai SEO, you can go to the business large media. I can arrange a kind of design for you. And with that said, these addiction types were directly to core section. Some of the addiction types are easier to rank. If I'm able to rank for some of the addiction types, it is giving a signal to the search engine. If you are ranking for a certain type of entity, it means you can start to rank for other members of the same class. And that's why actually I focus on more types than the others, and I start to focus on more attributes in my content as well. In the outro section, we go for things like trauma, mindfulness. Mindfulness is very big topic. When you go for your outro section, do not try to process everything, okay? Because if I process everything for mindfulness, my primary focus will be diluted. That's why you should actually process the outro section as much as you can actually connect it to the core section as possible. So this one is a programmatic SEO. I also wanted to include some examples like that. Basically here, this is a website actually for just team color codes. You can see the 5 components of the topical map one more time here. The thing here is that you always write the same thing here. And this is actually a way of increasing the cost. Many people tell me that it is very hard to write something actually in semantics because we need lots of authors, we need to talk them a lot, and writers don't listen to me and they make me angry. And even I have seen someone once to actually shut his writer. I say no, of course. But basically this is the situation. It makes everything harder. But if you have a templated content, if you're able to create a kind of template, and this template is created actually near 3 years ago, very simple. And you see the live version in this area. Basically from here to here, for the 3 years, this website uses this template, and it is working very well. The next question is, if you are also using the same template, what will happen? Then we will be focusing on the micro semantics, like small differences for punctuation, sentence structures, or certain type of order of these components. It will start to create a big difference in STEM. And usually when it comes to cryptocurrencies, or Forex, or let's say Nasdaq, etc., you always have a template. Because when you go to the Nasdaq, let's say we have maybe 500 companies or 3,000 companies there, and you can't always write a unique article there. You will need to use a template in a way. So Krishna is not here, but this is another example actually of the micro semantics. In this example, I actually suggested, let's say that person is from, let's say, Mauritius. He has sent me an email to ask the help. I had given him 19 suggestions. You can see these 19 suggestions for a programmatic website. In these suggestions, actually, the most important one is take the specific answer from the middle of the page, which is just 4 or 5 sentences, 4 or 5 words of sentence. Take it from the middle and put it to the top. Once he changed the place of the answer, after that point, actually, search engines started to crawl an entire website. And this is what I call micro semantics. By changing just a single sentence placement, we were able to actually make search engine recrawl the entire website, and then we started to actually deep dive into a positive ranking state. It was the biggest change. We didn't even add a heading at the beginning, just changed the place of the sentence. The other sentences on the page, they were not that important in that specific example. So I usually give this example. There are more actually, but there is no time for them. This is actually an AI website example. I want to actually give a sample for that. Again, you see actually my template here for cocktail recipes. In this website, actually, I presented in the SEO Master Summit. My seniors also know it a lot. And in this example, until to the 7,000 clicks a day, we actually go with the human writers. Then we start to implement the AI. And this project is actually new from 2021 and 2022. We didn't use ChatGPT or this type of stuff, because it doesn't exist in that specific moment. We actually use the Verb Tune API with a kind of modification, And we had some Israeli connections for this project, and WorkTune also was from Israel, and they opened an API for us, and we started to actually train the WorkTune API. We started to change every sentences, and we started to create all these documents. We went to the 65,000 clicks a day. Then we lost everything. We removed AI content, and we started to move from the same part. The purpose there is again actually earning the trust of the search engine, changing the language model that we are using, and starting the AI one more time. And you can see these three simple sections here. This is actually a kind of template that we created. You see that very simple. 3 years or maybe 3.5 years ago. Just these three simple documents actually made over millions of dollars. Just three simple stuff and a proper actual language model, it was good enough for us. This is another sample, again the AI, and again we are using a topical map, and we are using actually a certain type of 5 components here. I hope you will look at the bottom part as well, because they are key. But let's say, for instance, the source context here is gift idea directory. I make a distinction here, gift idea and gift, they are not the same thing. We should focus on the idea section, or the gift design, which is a form of idea as well. This is also an AI website. It is punished, but it is okay because you can create an AI website whenever you want. So my suggestion to you is that if you have an AI website, not try to rank it all the time. Just rank it, make the money, it will burn down, then create the next one. And you can always create as much as you want. That's why actually I started to call that today's farmers are the engineers, and the things are actually turning against the Google at the moment. I can tell that. So this one is important, and this is the last one. The yarn, another source for the mail merge, but this topical map is very much easier to understand. Because in this specific one, the source context is mail merge, you see the results, you see the documents in this area. The important thing here is that, I will explain just a few things slightly. I also have something that I call quality notes. The quality note that you see in this area, I always add these things to the homepage, so the search engine can actually recognize the most important articles, and they can start actually change their idea about the website. In this specific one, you see actual popularity notes, and these are the AI and email tools. The important thing here is that I can't directly create a page for email sentiment analyzing. There is no query for it. That's why I have to create a page for sentiment analyzer, which will be beyond the email sometimes. That's why you need to expand and augment your topical map as much as possible. Once I get impressions and popularity from this area, I'm able to connect and transfer this authority directly to here, and this section directly communicates with the search engine as much as possible. So I will show a simple thing here. When I created this specific topical map, and this is the last slide, I used a simple methodology. First is my source context and also my central figure is just the mail merge. The next step that I do is adding tokens between these. Then I start to get all the possible word distributions, which means what can come before email while merge is not there. Once you get all these combinations, then you start to get the idea of what can I connect to where, which query can be connected to where. The next step is actually getting the ideas, and then I realize that actually to be able to rank for the mail merge with my homepage, which is the most important page, to be able to rank there, I need to focus on the mail types. Because again, I need to augment, because mail merge, then let's say newsletter mail merge, discount mail merge, birthday mail merge, welcome mail merge. There are lots of different type of mails. Then it's not possible to create a page for birthday mail merge. This word combination, it doesn't have any query candidate. That's why I focus on directly the birthday mail, how to write it, how to create it, and to the most bottom part, I start to add actually my internal link to the source context. You can see that I use again the predicates in the green area, and I have actually certain type of attributes and the nouns. And I start to distribute them as much as possible, and I will just demonstrate it. This section is a bit detailed. Basically, I use lexical semantics. I know you are all tired, I won't be quiet there. I promise that I will keep it simple. And in this section, basically you see the core section of topical map. This is the homepage mail merge, and we have the mail types, and we have the specific type of mail types. And every document here, from the most bottom part, they directly link back to the homepage, but from the bottom, not from the top. Which means I rank for the specific mail type, and I get the authority that I actually transfer it to the homepage as much as possible. And in this area too, for instance, we get certain type of some candidates for macro context, which means the upper side of the page. And you already know these concepts: macro context, micro context, supplementary content, main content. These are from the course directly. And here you too also see the topical map, how we connect these things to each other. Mail verse to homepage, and the mail types, and we actually process all these things. These are the macro context, like how to create and send the best mail newsletters. On the bottom part, we link back to mail merge with an internal link and with a certain type of link there as well. You also realize that I actually use a template, as I have shown before. All the titles are templated. The important thing here is that I always don't use the same template. Sometimes I change it. Again, you see the internal link connection here. This is a content brief that I created. At the bottom part, most bottom part, this is actually macro context. This is the bridge, middle part. In the micro context, I direct actually link the mail merge. The important thing here is that try to include your main entity, which is newsletter, together with actually send collector, which is mail merge. They should appear in the beginning together. And you can actually use this internal link directly. So there are many samples here. I'm going to skip them because this is actually for the workshop and at the Wednesday, which is an invitation. If you come there, you'll be able to see the next sections. I know that you are already thirsty. This is just morning, and I'm bombarding all the information in this area. I understand that. For now, it is just like that. Thanks for the coming. It means a lot for me. So before the leaving, actually we can do maybe a 5 or 10 minutes of Q&A, then we will need to eat, drink, etc. And is there anyone who wants to ask a question? I am sure there are many, but I guess some people hesitate. Because when I am alone, everyone comes and asks. And when we are all together, no one asks. Yes.
So the logic is very processed. Have you tried to use ChatGPT to try to script out a bit of this area?
So when I create these things, these are all manual, but at the same time, if I'm ignorant about the topic, because it's not possible to create a topical map like an expert for all the things. I know nothing about plastic injection molding. Since I know nothing there, I actually ask a few things to the AI or sometimes Google as well. To me, there is no difference doing a research on the ChatGPT or somewhere else or the Google side as well. And sometimes I also give the URL to the ChatGPT and I just extract the entities, attributes, generate some questions quickly, and then I also show my team sometimes, like SOPs, just if you don't know the topic, if you don't understand it, just ask it to the ChatGPT. For instance, just the other day, we missed a detail. It was like, apparently there's a difference between Amazon storefront and Amazon influencer. We didn't know it directly. Even the Google results don't know it, to be honest. So to close this type of information gap and to hasten the process, sometimes we use AI. You raised first, okay.
I was interested about the templates. If I may ask you, if you are testing different types of templates based on data and pick the right one, or if you are just building a couple of theories and then just run
Okay. So there are a few things there. For instance, for the team color codes, and lately you also start to see that perspectives start to be more important. If you miss that detail, perspectives is actually a kind of update that Google actually did. You see, for instance, President Quora is increasing the traffic. It is because of the perspective. Basically, if there is a kind of perspective, a personal experience directly in the, let's say, the content, even if it is not expert level content, still it ranks higher. So when I create a template, I try to actually satisfy multiple criteria at the same time. First, I created actually manually, but for team colors too, as well, we actually did an A/B test first. We have taken most popular 100 URLs, and I do my A/B test always like for 100 URLs or more. Try to do that because it's not possible to get an A/B test result from 3. It might be luck. We did the A/B test, we waited 6 weeks, we have seen always that it is going up. It's not always like 88% it went up, but it was good enough for us. Then we started to implement it for site-wide. For the last 3 years, they are using that. So sometimes it's true that we are using the data. Yes, please.
Would it be possible to start from the topical map at the bottom to change from the core entity to the topical map without creating a relation?
It's possible, but it is also a little bit about the creative path of the user. If user starts to search from X, and if you start from the Y, it means that you will be getting the historical data when the user journey, let's say, ends. Usually, for the face shape sample, for instance, in the Oscar Wilde, if I know that I am not able to rank for these main health queries, sometimes I start to create a kind of, let's say, movement while deleting all the unnecessary content. I start to create actually some new content. And in this example, yes, actually, you can do it sometimes as well. Just try to understand that whether your source is able to rank it or not. If you don't have enough level of ranking priority, then you can start from easier topics as well. I can tell. If you do that also, try to be focused on site-wide anagrams, because search engine can think that your website topic is different. By using site-wide anagrams, which means certain type of phrases that appear in the entire website, you can reflect your main purpose or your main topic as much as possible. Yes.
Simple question. What do you so much really use transformers?
Transformers. Most of the transformers are plugin-based. Actually, most of it. Like, I start from Roberta. You ask the language model, right? I start from Roberta mainly for the question answering, especially. Then maybe I start with the Facebook models a little bit more. Yes, because even if Facebook doesn't share that much info or type it, they have really good compression language models. Yes, of course.
And how do you store your knowledge base? And do you prefer sequential or non-sequential?
Actually, when I store the knowledge base, the first sample that I use actually, I created a Jinja website. You know the Jinja tool, it's template generator. The first one was even a Google Sheets scripts. I put actually certain type of entities and attributes into the columns. Then I connected to Jinja, which is not a language model, I know. I just created samples. Then I just placed the variables to specific spaces. Then we created static HTML pages, it worked. The next step for us was actually taking that Google Sheet, a kind of, let's say, a certain type of database, but in this example, again, we need a tabular form. And in that one, actually, we use the MongoDB with the Python. Yes. And once we actually use the MongoDB, it was mainly for actually using Python with the WordPress, because we were able to connect to the MongoDB with the Python. We were able to automatically paste everything to the WordPress, again with the Python. And you were able to generate the article again with the Python as well. And one server for each task we use in this example. Yes?
We know the idea of create a lot of content. So you create a lot of different pages. You have expecting some problems with the product.
So,
how do you find
so it's nice. First of all, I'm glad that your voice is very strong. It would be possible to hear. And second thing is that it's a very good question, because when I start to create these type of quality notes, as you see in this specific area, if I can find it one more time, this. When I start to create these, for instance, I start to publish these things at the same day to create actually a kind of reaction from the search engine side. Before I start publishing, I try to delete anything not necessary. I even merge corporate pages like privacy terms or about us page, contact page. I just create a single page for different purposes, and I just create a multi-layers there. So when it comes to rather than the crawl budget, actually my specific fear there is, let's say, cost per page from the search engine side. Imagine that in your website, you have 3,000 pages, and only 50 of them are quality. It means that when I actually do the crawl for an entire website, I'm able to find only 50 good things. After a point, I will actually give up, and I will check the other website. Another thing is that when I start to publish 20 article, imagine that you publish 20 article in a website, but that website has 1 million URL. 20 wouldn't be even noticed by the search engine. So in this sample, we try to decrease the amount of URL as much as possible. We increase the value per page while decreasing the cost per page. If you are able to do this section, the crawl budget won't be that much an issue. Another thing is that if you're able to show the search engine that, it is easier to understand your content, be able to endure that cost for you, whether from crawling, whether from understanding or evaluating. So let's get one more question. I am also hungry. Yes, Jason. My great problem.
You mentioned before that if a domain has brand searches,
Yes.
as beverage is better, right?
Yes.
Is that brand searches plus place plus interaction on the
It's
website?
even better, actually. You also use actually sometimes in backlinks. Since you are a legendary PPM manager, you also know that.
The reason I'm asking is like if you have your brand and then you expire, you create a page on your current brand, right? That expired has brand searches. So when a user is searching for that other expired name,
actually when it comes to, for instance, when it comes to the exact match domains, it is not clear for search engine whether the user searches for the query, whether they search for the brand. That's why, for instance, I call it like create the landing or bluing. We try to actually blue the data of the search engine so that it's not clear whether the user searches for it or whether the user searches for the term. And the same thing usually happens with the expired domains or other type of, let's say, the brand names as well. If user searches for your name, but if they don't click on you, it will be a clear message. But at the same time, when I create a brand, I try to rank my actual social media accounts there. I try to rank for, let's say, other type of proxy accounts or reviews about myself. Once I am dominating my own brand names, then actually I am blending that data in the favor of myself. And it helps me in this example. Okay. So, my people, I guess we already did a kind of conference here, to be honest. My purpose was only to translate this. And again, you know my traditions. As a community, we are a nerd. So, we went a bit further there. So, one more time, I am thankful for all the questions. And let's eat now. Thank you.